Hello and welcome to Fragments Studio. My name is Tahir and I've been working in advertising and film industry for the past 20 years as a VFX artist. Typically, when you work for a VFX studio as a 3D artist, you would be given a reference image to work towards. And your job as an artist would be to fine-tune certain parameters to work towards that reference to match the lighting, the shading, the textures, etc. In today's example, we're going to be using a beautiful photo taken by Amy Shaw and try to capture the essence of that image and recreate it using Fragments Studio. Now, if you already have an object or a camera that you already animated in a different platform, you can import that by going into Project and import Animated FBX. In this instance, I'm just going to import a car model from Sketchfab. I can do that by clicking on the Sketchfab button on the left-hand side and searching for Porsche and clicking on the first object that shows up from the list. Now, once the model is loaded, I can position my camera to frame my subject using left, right and middle mouse buttons in the viewport. Next, we will add a reference image. Scroll down all the way to the bottom on your right hand side toolbar and click on Add Reference. You can either navigate to a directory in your computer or hit Alt+V on your keyboard to paste the image in. In the empty notes field, I'm going to just type in environment, lighting and mood. This is quite important because we are telling the underlying model that we only want to use this image for lighting, environment and the mood. So we don't want it to reference the car or anything else. I'm going to select Nano Banana 2 from the model list. As of today, that's one of the best models to use reference images. And I'm going to reframe my car to match our reference image a little bit better. You don't have to do that, but I just like to get a bit closer to the reference image in this instance. I'll go ahead and click Generate with Nano Banana Pro and Nano Banana 2. And as you can see, we are getting almost identical image to our reference image. This may not necessarily be the best way to go about this. In a professional workflow, what you would rather do is use reference as a visual guide. And the best way to go about this is scroll down back to the reference section and click on Describe. And what this will do is it will generate a prompt describing the environment, lighting and the mood. We can then untick Use Image. This will make sure that we don't send that image to the model. And we can hit Generate again. As of now, you can generate up to 5 images at a time. So what I've done is I went ahead and clicked on Generate with Nano Banana 2 and Nano Banana Pro. And we have 2 images that really capture the essence of the reference image without actually using the image itself, but just by using the description of the image. What I want to do next is go back to our reference image and use the snipping tool to select a section from the car where the paint is obviously visible, and go back to our reference images, add a second reference and paste that in by using Alt+V. And in the notes section, make sure to type in car paint material reference. This tells the underlying model we only want to use this reference image for the paint color. And the first results are back. We can see that in the first image, our car paint material has not applied, and in the second image, the model has not respected our camera angle. We can go back into the car paint material reference and click on Describe. This will reinforce the intention of that reference image, and it should help us achieve more consistent results. I've gone ahead and rendered that with Nano Banana Pro and Nano Banana 2, and both images gave us very pleasing results that matches our reference images perfectly. The next step is creating camera animation, and there are 2 ways that you can do this. First is the way we talked about earlier. You can either bring in your FBX animation from a different platform. Alternatively, you can create simple camera and object animations within Fragments Studio. In our case, we'll go ahead and create the animation in Fragments by going into the animation tab at the top. We're going to be using Kling 3 model to render this animation, and with Kling you need to select a start frame, and you don't need to select an end frame, but you can select more frames as a reference frame to help the model understand our scene. And once our first frame is selected, what I want to do is select my camera from the object list, go to the timeline at the bottom of your screen, make sure you're on frame 0 or the first frame, and click the key button. This will create our keyframe for the first position of our camera. We then need to navigate to the last frame in the timeline, position our camera to where we want it to be in the last frame, and in the timeline select the key button again. And this will create your end keyframe. We can then go ahead and render our animation. The duration of this animation is 5 seconds, but you can increase that or reduce that in the timeline settings if you wish. Currently, a 5-second animation on Kling takes around 3 to 5 minutes to generate. And here we have our final video. From reference image to our final animated video in about 5 minutes. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.